Hola everyone, how are we today? I'm gonna make this super quick. Everything in Barcelona is slowly emerging out of the quarantine fiasco, and I have finally been able to get back to work. So I am actually recording this just before heading off to go to my shift at work. So I feel very American diner-y, I don't know. But okay, so I would like to basically use this video today if you are wanting to go to Spain or live in Spain and you're worried about the language. I'm gonna explain the three kind of phases that I went through when I was learning Spanish, and hopefully this will help you get better and be more confident when speaking in Spanish. So the big elephant in the room would be, am I fluent? And the short answer would be no. My background, so my mother is from Colombia, my mum is in fact a Spanish teacher. And yes, I understand, I was like, oh Maria, how can you not be fluent? I grew up in the UK and my first language has always been English. And as much as my mum did speak Spanish to me at home, as a child wanted to speak in English because it was just easier for me. I completely regret that because that would have helped me on my journey, or that would have helped me learn Spanish a lot quicker, because when you're young you are literally like a sponge to new information. Although I did have a head start, I studied Spanish at GCSE. I then went on after GCSE to study Spanish at sixth form for A level. I did that for 1 year. When it comes to Spanish, that would be it. Other than having Spanish relatives and my family, whenever they used to call me or call my family, I would have to speak in Spanish to them because they don't speak English. Personally, my main difficulties when I started learning Spanish has got to be the grammar. The grammar and the whole idea that when you speak in, well, for any language that derives from Latin, the way they put together sentences and phrases is the opposite of what we say in English. As an example, so I bought you something, and in Spanish the literal translation in English would be I bought something. The way they structure the sentence is slightly different. Last but not least, with me, the reason I guess why I am not 100% fluent is confidence. Normally I find if I have a glass of wine, I automatically get more confident in speaking Spanish to others. And it might be the little magic of the agua de vida or the alcohols that makes me more confident to speak in Spanish. When I am speaking in Spanish, I'm not thinking in Spanish. I haven't got to that level yet. When I'm having a conversation with someone, I can understand almost 100% of what they are telling me, but to think up of a response, and I'm thinking of it in English, and then I need to translate what I want to say in reply to whoever's talking to me into Spanish. It takes me that much longer just to even think of the vocab or... But anyways, before we get to the complicated stuff, let's start at the beginners. So you are someone who wants to go on holiday to Spain, you don't really know much, only have to say hello, goodbye. Okay, let's just start with the basics, right? You can buy a textbook and you can go onto those Duolingo apps. Yes, they do help with vocab. However, I personally downloaded it to learn a different language. I think I learned Japanese, and they started teaching me how to say fruits. I mean, fruits would be handy if I were going to go to Japan and eat fruits, right? But that wouldn't happen. So my tips to beginners, so I would recommend to learn phrases. So phrases like, where is the blah, 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 how much is blah, or may I have, etc. Do you see where I'm going with this? So if you learn those, so if you learn 3 phrases, right? So if you learn how much is, where is the, and may I have. So with those 3 phrases, you can already say where is the bathroom, where is the train station, where is the etc etc, or may I have coffee, may I have change, I don't know. So with those three phrases, you can then use those phrases with the added extra vocab that you know that you need. You'll be able to communicate. At the end of the day, you can learn fruits if you want, but then you'll be able to say, may I have a fruit? May I have an orange, a grape, whatever tickles your peach. After learning your basic phrases, then putting them into practice would be perfect. However, if you are, okay, so now we're moving on to more of an intermediate, so we're getting into where grammar starts to be an absolute pain. So I find from experience and from having conversations with people, I speak more in the past tense than I do in the future. I would only speak in the future tense if I was planning to do something with someone in the future, right? So if you are wanting to learn the past tense, to be honest, it's one of the easiest to learn. You have a verb, the verbs in Spanish end in AR, ER, or IR, right? If you are saying something that's recently in the past, all you have to do is change the infinitive ending, so those endings, right, with an E. So if you're saying for example, I'm going to work, so voy a trabajar, right? So I'm going to work. That's something that's happening in the present right now, okay? So I worked yesterday, trabajé ayer. So I worked yesterday, get it? Okay, so if you are going to learn any tense, learn the past tense to start off with, because it's the easiest and it's the one that I use the most. Obviously all the other tenses are important, but they are more difficult, and you have the odd verb or the odd word that doesn't really go with the rules of the grammar, but that's just the beauty of learning a language. Right, another tip that I could possibly recommend would be to watch films, movies, TV series, something that you have seen so many times that you can probably recite the script or just whatever. Translate it into Spanish. What I've done over this quarantine, I have watched Harry Potter, I've watched Lord of the Rings, I've watched pretty much almost all the Quentin Tarantino films. I would recommend it to have it in English, but with Spanish subtitles, just so you can kind of get yourself in the groove. If you're feeling confident, translate the language of the film or the movie series, whatever, into Spanish and have English subtitles. That way you can kind of correlate some of the phrases that you hear in the movie into Spanish. And finally would be to keep the language of the film that you're watching in Spanish and then change the subtitles into Spanish as well. That way it really challenges you and tests your knowledge about the vocab, and yeah. Another intermediate thing that you could try, which I did when I first moved here to Barcelona, would be to change your phone language. So I use my phone a lot, and I get quite a few notifications coming through, whether it be if my battery is low or if I get texts or messages from people. I have probably memorized all the notifications that I could possibly get on my phone. I see it almost every single day. So if I changed that into Spanish, you learn more kind of IT language, which is helpful in some cases. Also with the phone, when you go onto websites, shopping websites, everything will be still in Spanish. So if you're doing online shopping, you can say add to cart, payment, whatever. Because my job is mainly in hospitality, it has helped me with some of the vocab to use with customers coming in, talking to my manager about problems with the system or the oh my god, I know how to say it in Spanish, but I don't know how to say it in English. Depots, the visa machines. And finally would be the advanced. So if you can communicate in Spanish, doesn't have to be perfect, it's just, you have it, you've got it. To learn a language, you really need to put yourself out there and immerse yourself into a culture that speaks only that language. I have aspirations to go and see my family in South America, and South America is a place where they will speak only Spanish. If you don't feel comfortable going all the way to South America and like 100% immersing yourself into that language, for example with me, I couldn't do that. I needed to get better at Spanish before I could go that far. In Barcelona, it's very multicultural. So although my work colleagues, they are from Argentina, they're from Uruguay, they speak only Spanish to me. However, my manager, he speaks English. You will probably feel more comfortable speaking Spanish and still having that kind of safety net to, like, if you can't communicate, then don't stress, like, someone will understand you. And I promise you, over 1 year of me living out here has improved my Spanish immensely. I'm not even going to kid you. Like, the only thing I would recommend to people who are wanting to move here to specifically learn and get better at the language is to not fall into that expat trap. Just because it's so multicultural and people do speak English, if you are here to learn a different language, you need to put yourself outside of your comfort zone, you need to push yourself and actually try. And it is so easy. Like, for example, at work, the job that I have now, there is a guy who's from here, from Spain. He speaks Spanish and English, and he wants to get better at speaking English. So whenever he speaks to me in English, and it's just because it's easier for me, I will reply to him in English. And many times I'm like, no. But yes, but ways to expose yourself to the language is not only work in a Spanish-speaking environment. And in my flat right now, so I'm sharing a flat with some ladies from Ecuador. So again, they're from South America, so they speak little to no English at all. So from the minute I wake up until I go to sleep, I'm speaking Spanish. And that's something that would have freaked me out at least like a year ago. It would have made my brain like hurt. So I hope this has been helpful, maybe at least to get you on the right track if you want to get better at speaking Spanish. I'm sorry this has been a little bit like short and sweet. I apologise, it's been a little bit of a shambles, but you know what? Sometimes life isn't perfect. I think that'll be it for this week's video. I will see you in my next one. And as of now, I believe shops and bars are starting to open, so I will probably be able to do a little tour of the bars that I recommend if you want to come here to Barcelona, because one thing I do know are the bars here. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao, queridos.